Welcome back to the Road to WrestleMania 2020, and for episode 4 we have jumped forward 10 days from Super Showdown to Elimination Chamber, the final pay-per-view before WrestleMania, and in many cases the last chance for titles to potentially change hands going into the biggest event of the year. There was a match on the kickoff before the pay-per-view started, Elias and Braun Strowman picking up a victory over Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura. It's not been really a good month in terms of booking for Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura since I started this save, but I see more in Braun and Elias as a unit, whereas I think Nakamura and Cesaro are better served in singles competition. They've certainly got more to offer than Braun and Elias in terms of in-ring performance, and despite it being a defeat, it's an excellent match considering it didn't get onto the pay-per-view, and it will play into the storyline that we have for Shinsuke Nakamura going into his WrestleMania defense of the Intercontinental title. Braun Strowman also debuting a new high spot there, which is definitely a good thing as we go into the pay-per-view proper. A video package promoting the steel structure of the Elimination Chamber. As always, it's put over as the most dangerous match type in the WWE. Another match which is highlighted, as well as the two title matches inside the chamber, is Charlotte Flair versus Shayna Baszler, as that match has a huge stipulation of its own. If Shayna Baszler beats Charlotte Flair tonight, she will go on to face Becky Lynch at WrestleMania, and Charlotte Flair will have to make other plans for the big night. Speaking of women's champions, the show opens with one of the Elimination Chamber matches. Both SmackDown title defenses will bookend the show inside the chamber. Bayley defending the SmackDown Women's Championship. Sasha Banks and her are the first two out to start the match, and they hug before the bell rings. From the look on Bayley's face, however, as they embraced, she wasn't happy with Sasha Banks, who had returned during a last chance battle royal on Friday night's SmackDown. The two friends went at it until the third entrant came into the match, which was Mandy Rose, focus turning to her, and without Otis to help her and no sign of Sonya Deville at ringside, Mandy Rose looked nervous and overwhelmed by what awaited her. This proved to be a fair reaction by her, as Banks told Bayley to hold back. Banks then destroyed and dismantled Mandy Rose in the ring, looking as dominant as she did during that battle royal on SmackDown, eliminating Mandy Rose within a couple of minutes with a Banks statement. That was before the fourth person even came out. Bayley told Banks that she had this one. Lacey Evans put up significantly more resistance than Mandy Rose, however, and almost rolled Bayley up fairly shortly after coming out. Before long, Sasha Banks had to get herself involved and possibly save Bayley from an embarrassing quick elimination. Nikki Cross was next in and relieved some of the pressure on Lacey Evans. By the time the final entrant was ready, Sasha and Bayley were back in control and made a pact to go after Naomi. This plan backfired as a fired-up Naomi took the fight to both women, hitting a rear view to both Banks and Bayley and enjoying a good period of control in the match. Lacey Evans and Nikki Cross were later eliminated, Lacey by Naomi and Nikki Cross by Sasha Banks, and the three frontrunners from before the match remained as the final three competitors. The boss and hug connection again looked to work over Naomi, who showed great resilience, twice almost eliminating Bayley. She would, however, be eventually taken down by Sasha Banks, meaning the first two entrants in the match were also the last two remaining. Bayley had looked vulnerable to defeat throughout the match, and without Sasha Banks would likely have already been eliminated. This desperation showed all the way through to the end of the match, as Banks looked in control and of course looking to pick up that fourth elimination and become the SmackDown Women's Champion. However, Bayley took to using underhanded tactics with a friend, unhooking the turnbuckle and using the metal pole to swing at Banks. Banks ducked, hitting a backstabber, transitioning into a Banks statement, but Bayley still had the turnbuckle in her hand. Bayley hacked at the previously injured ankle of Sasha Banks that had kept her out since the Royal Rumble, and that forced Sasha to break the hold. Sasha was clearly in serious pain for the rest of the match, and Bayley took full advantage, hitting a Bayley to retain her title. After the match, not a very good match, Sasha Banks had to be helped out of the ring, Bayley standing tall, still the SmackDown Women's Champion. Prior to the second match of the evening, Jinder Mahal came back down to the ring, joined by the Singh brothers, who were reunited with him following Mahal's defeat to Drew McIntyre at Super Showdown. Mahal has of course drafted in the Singh brothers to try and help him in his continuing rivalry with Drew McIntyre, and he'll face him once again. Jinder cutting a promo before the match, saying that nobody beats Jinder Mahal twice in a row. Drew McIntyre had a clear game plan, however, going into the match, which is much better than the Super Showdown match between them, which I'm happy to see. A 76 from Drew McIntyre is definitely more like it and gives me a lot more confidence for his match with Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Drew left the ring as soon as the bell rang. Jinder Mahal could only watch as McIntyre dismantled the Singh brothers on the outside, much in the same way to Randy Orton did a few years ago when he was feuding with Mahal. Drew McIntyre then returns to the ring, and while an eye poke can allow Mahal a brief period of control, it was a one-sided squash match, Drew McIntyre pinning Jinder Mahal in 5 minutes and 28 and standing tall in the ring. That's the wrong person in the ring. Drew McIntyre won the match, but that is definitely more like it from Drew McIntyre after a poor performance at Super Showdown, and he is ready for Brock Lesnar. We then go into the third match of the night, Andrade making his second appearance since returning from suspension, a title match against Humberto Carrillo and Rey Mysterio. He retains the title, pinning Rey Mysterio following a Brilliante driver. Humberto Carrillo the weak link, but two decent performances again from Andrade and Rey Mysterio. Zelina then joins him in the ring after the match, another person who can look towards a WrestleMania title defense. Hopefully we'll be able to fit a US title match onto that card. We then go into one of the featured key matches of the night, and a huge amount is on the line in this. We get the video package recapping the rivalry between Shayna Baszler and Charlotte Flair in recent weeks. Baszler debuting on the Raw brand after the Royal Rumble and going after Charlotte Flair, who she claimed that the WWE Universe are tired of. The two women agreed to a match at Elimination Chamber, with Shayna coaxing Flair into putting her WrestleMania Championship opportunity on the line. This isn't usually a storyline technique that I like, as I feel it can belittle the importance of winning the Rumble and make it seem like the championship doesn't really matter to the people involved. But I feel that Charlotte's character is perfect for somebody to do this. She has that balance of confidence in her own ability, but is fragile enough about her own perception to rise to the bait and want to prove herself. There's probably nobody else in the WWE that I would have done this storyline with, but I feel that it just about fits Flair's character. Before that match begins, Becky Lynch joins commentary. As for the match itself, Charlotte Flair looks in control of the contest, which goes over 15 minutes, and heads to the top rope for a moonsault, one of her big signature moves, but two women appear from out of nowhere. They are quickly identified as Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir, two close allies of Shayna Baszler from her NXT days, and even before that, they each grabbed a leg of Charlotte Flair before pushing her to the canvas. Shayna Baszler took advantage of this, locking in a rear naked choke to the stunned Charlotte Flair. She was unable to escape. Becky Lynch tried to come out from the commentary position to help, but was clattered and taken down by Duke and Shafir. As Charlotte Flair faded, the referee had no choice but to call for the bell. Charlotte Flair losing the championship match she had earned at Royal Rumble, and Shayna Baszler going on to face the women's champion of Raw, Becky Lynch, at WrestleMania. John Morrison and The Miz then successfully defend their titles against the Usos, once again using questionable tactics. It says a foreign object there. The first defense of the SmackDown Tag Team titles, The Miz apparently carrying the ring in terms of in-ring performance with an excellent 86 there. Quite surprised by that, but it's a good tag team title match for them, and we go out of one tag team title match into the next. I haven't done many angles on this show as I probably normally would. Of course, there'll be words from commentators and all those bits in between, but I just want to put across the important stuff. And as we go into the second last match of the night, there is a brawl taking place in the back between AOP and the Viking Graders. They've been involved in the Seth Rollins, Buddy Murphy versus Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe rivalry throughout the last couple of months, and Eric and Ivar get on top of this brawl, ensuring that Akam and Razor would not be able to influence the outcome of the second last match of the night. That meant that we should have been able to get an even, fair fight, but that didn't stop Seth and Buddy from using underhanded tactics throughout. Not that commonplace in the WWE in the last few years as far as I'm aware, but we did get a referee bump in the match, and it saw Seth Rollins bring a tag team title into the ring to use as a weapon. He took Samoa Joe down with the belt from behind, but as he set up to hit Kevin Owens in what would have been the decisive shot to ensure that they retain the titles, the music of Edge hit. Edge made his first appearance since being taken out by Seth Rollins' group, entering the ring, ducking the title shot from Seth Rollins and hitting a huge spear to the man who took him out. Rollins was sent rolling out the ring as he fell from the canvas, leaving Kevin Owens to hit a stunner to Buddy Murphy. Owens pinning one half of the tag team champions to win the titles for the makeshift duo of Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe was helped to his feet after the match by Kevin Owens, the two celebrating in the ring, but really the main topic of conversation, Edge at the top of the ramp with a smirk on his face. Of course, he is known for his excellent facials. Seth Rollins had to try and hold his own in that department as he furiously looked up to the man who had got his revenge at Elimination Chamber. We then go into the main event, which only gets an 81B. I did hope that would be better considering it's a pay-per-view main event, but the Elimination Chamber match begins with Daniel Bryan, who recently returned from a post-Fiend defeat hiatus, and Roman Reigns, who has his eyes on the biggest prize available to the SmackDown superstars. The two men went at it for the opening part of the match, with Sheamus joining as the third entrant. Sheamus, of course, with a history with both men, and he brought his physicality to the match. Kofi Kingston entering fourth and bringing his athleticism to the Elimination Chamber. King Corbin was the second last out. He went after Sheamus, who, despite having to appear to have joined the King's group on SmackDown, hit Corbin with a bro kick 3 nights before this pay-per-view. Corbin had no friends with him in the ring for once, and he was eliminated first in the match after being hit with big moves from all 4 of the other competitors. The Fiend was the final entrant, but when the lights went out for him to come out of his pod, he seemed to disappear. On the screen, we then got a skit from the children TV host type Bray Wyatt, and he said that the Fiend had never been in the Elimination Chamber before, and he didn't like it. The Fiend didn't want to come out and play. Despite the bizarre scenario, the match went on, ending up with Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan, the first two, once again the last two in the ring. Exhausted, having been in the match for over 25 minutes now, they both went for the decisive fall. Reigns going for Superman punches and spears, Bryan going for the running knee, but each man failed to connect. When they both were struggling back to their feet in the corner, going for their killer blows, the lights went out again. When they returned, both men were over the knee of the Fiend, who dropped them with a Sister Abigail each. The Fiend then pinned Daniel Bryan before turning his attention to Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns wasn't done there. He looked to fight back against the fresh Fiend. A series of Superman punches only getting him so far, as on the third one he was caught in the grasp of the Fiend. Reigns tried to struggle out, but he was taken down by the mandible claw. Reigns faded and the match was over, the Fiend retaining the Universal Championship, having sat out the vast majority of the match. The road to WrestleMania goes into its final stretch. The Fiend is still the WWE Universal Champion. Shayna Baszler took Charlotte Flair's Royal Rumble WrestleMania opportunity. We've got 2 episodes of Raw and 2 episodes of SmackDown, the post-pay-per-view and the pre-WrestleMania episodes of each show. We're on that final path of the road to WrestleMania, and these shows will kick into the next gear, starting with the Raw after Elimination Chamber.